Hi, everybody. I'm Warren Rasmussen, and this is after that. Now having freed the slaves.
Well, some, and I did. It was Christian Solidarity who freed them. I was the scribbler, and I was the PR fellow, I suppose.
Okay, but then you got involved in what, the David Project? Was that next?
Right, the David Project. Well, yes, that was next. Again, the problem was Israel. And again, the problem was that the Jewish community didn't know how to fight back. It had a problem. If you
still don't know how to fight.
And they still don't know how to. Well, they're getting better. Some. The problem is that the Jews are divided, right? I mean, what's the joke about the Jews live like Episcopalians and vote like Puerto Ricans, right? The Jews are in their heart and in their gut are lefties. Okay. So, and why is that? Because they were victims, because we were slaves, and all of the Torah teaches that you should, whenever somebody is in trouble, help them, in the history of the world, it was the right that was oppressive to the Jews,
right,
and the left that was more sympathetic. So they got confused, the community got confused about what was the nature of this Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And they wanted deeply in their hearts to believe that it was a matter of border lines, that it was a border war, that if you move the border this much, if you gave them this much land, if you did. So much of the Jewish community was, give them concessions, because that's what it must be. It can't be anything else but that, right? And so give them concessions. And while they were in the give them concessions mode, they neglected to make Israel's case. In other words, instead of saying, well, all these things that are in the globe make Israel look horrible, it's not bad. It's a good country. Maybe it needs to make concessions, but it's a good country. They didn't put that part in.
Right.
So for decades, we had these B-52s banging us on the head from the BBC and CNN that Israel's bad, Israel's bad, Israel's bad. And the Jewish community is divided over what to do. So the problem was, and especially on campuses. On campuses, it's horrible because you have all the left-wing professors who think the Palestinians are the new proletariat in the world, who think, they're going to. So what we did at the David Project was to teach the Jews how to make Israel's case from the left or from the right. In other words, let's not talk about solutions. We can disagree about solutions, but the cause of the conflict, now most Jews understand, the cause of the conflict is not about borders.
Right.
It's about whether Jews have the right to have a state in the Middle East.
Right.
And what Muslims think about that. And it's clear, I mean, just listen to Hamas.
Right.
It's clearer and clearer that Jews don't have, just like the Southern Sudanese, who are Christians, they're not going to have a right to have a state because they're not Muslim. The same thing, the Jews are not going to have a right to have a state. And so what we did at the David Project is we created a curriculum that it's a 14-unit curriculum and put it in all the Jewish day schools that we could, over 100 Jewish day schools, to prepare Jewish students for college campus arguments. Because on the campuses is the biggest problem, and the left-wing churches, but the campuses. So the David Project, we made news. We made a film about professors in Columbia University who were abusing their podia, who were intimidating and harassing pro-Israel kids in the class and out of the class.
Now, just let me ask, Rashid Khalidi wouldn't be one of them, would he?
He actually wasn't one of the people about who an incident was reported, but he's in that. He's in the Palestinianist
You want to tell the audience who he is?
Well, he's a professor of. He's the inheritor of Edward Said's chair. He's a professor at Columbia University.
And who was he before that?
He was in Arafat's PLO. He was a chief advisor, or
A spokesperson.
He's a spokesperson for the PLO.
Yasser Arafat.
Right. But we had cases at Columbia University where a girl would raise her hand in class and say, Professor, you said that the Jews did a massacre in Jenin. Even the United Nations said, which doesn't like Israel, even the United Nations said there was no massacre there. They sent in ground troops to stop the suicide bombers, and you said it was and he said to her, if you make excuses for Israeli atrocities, get out of my class. So we made a film about such incidents, and it created a big storm in New York City. We were in over 100 articles in the New York City press. And we helped the students establish a way that they could make complaints without being punished. But you never know, because the professors have all the power.
Right.
Oh,
Almost.
Well, most of it all the time. I think they run the universities, actually.